So about a week ago, I posted a video saying the best smartphone for YouTube. That was based upon one, owning an LG V30, two, seeing Unbox Therapy talk about this thing called the preferred devices or signature devices from YouTube, and my phone happened to fit the bill. And I just did a couple of video upload tests, and it got me thinking, what about the other phones I've had as daily drivers? I'm not really a phone reviewer, so please don't, consider this as a review. It's more of a perspective on three different devices from three different manufacturers and three different operating systems. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. First up, iOS. Now, this is an iPhone SE, which is practically a 6S Plus in a 5 body. And at first, I thought, okay, this is a tiny ass phone, but I remember using a 5S when I was in the service, and it was fine for the most part. You didn't really think twice about phone size real estate. I was just on it to, make a couple of texts, phone calls, FaceTimes, you know, basic stuff. But moving forward, about 6, 7 years, I go back and I'm using this tiny phone. I'm like, man, this is really nice to have in your pocket. Like, you just pick it up, do what you got to do. All right, yeah, what's up? Cool. Throw it in your pocket, and you ain't got to worry about sitting on it, breaking the glass, or having this massive brick in your pocket, when you're walking down the street. And I was just like, wow, they might have been onto something here. But I want to move over towards the user experience. It is nice, the ergonomics of a smaller device, but going back to iOS from having Android as my daily driver was probably the biggest turn of events when it came to my mobile device media consumption, productivity, and so on and so forth. So, iOS, I put it to you this way. After 3 days straight of putting my SIM card in here, not just, walking around using it as a glorified iPod, uh, 3 days straight of iOS, it was nice. It was very simplistic. You can't really customize anything, but I'm not saying anything new about that. And I see why people jailbreak these things, but it did do its single task very well. And it's weird to say, but iOS made me feel more social with people and people in my contact list. Something about the iOS ecosystem when you see those blue bubbles and people hit the like buttons and it's like Pavlov's training or something. You just get a weird sense of gratification, like, oh, someone read my message, or the blue bubbles. It just maybe the color theory. I'm not sure what kind of witchcraft or scientific processes that Apple and their technicians are doing, but for some reason, when you're interacting with people and you have an iOS device, you just feel more social. You're more sociable than I would say normally. And the proof to this is when I start talking about the Windows phone and then an Android after that was, man, when I wanted to communicate with people who I already knew had iOS. I wanted to communicate with them more just for the fun of it. Like, I is this weird X factor that having an iOS device does. It's just a very social engaging experience. And I'm starting to see why people are saying that iOS and iPhones or any iDevice really is more of a lifestyle choice. Well, I can see where they're coming from. So on that front, I gotta give it to iOS. On the opposite spectrum, man, you can't. It's boring. It's boring, boring, boring. The layout. This what is this grid system's been here since what, iOS 2. Um, Jailbreak it if it's out of warranty. Don't if you just got an iPhone 10 and then now the new 10s or whatever they're calling it now just came out. Don't, because obviously avoid your warranty. But If you do and you're tired of looking at that same old set of icons gridded up, taking over your nice wallpaper, jailbreak that thing and don't think twice about it. Just do it. iOS is great if you want to be a socially active person, especially when it comes to iMessaging and other heavy duty social media apps. It does it really, really well. In fact, it does it much better than Android. And this is coming from someone who uses Android as a daily driver. Go iOS if you are socially driven. If you're that extrovert, outgoing person, you probably already have an iPhone. But yeah, if you're not and you thinking about jumping ship from whatever you got now, iOS is the way to do it. And if you find an SE, they're dirt cheap, and it's practically a 6S, especially if you don't want a large phone in your pocket and you don't want to pay what is it, $300 now to fix an iPhone X screen if it breaks. So iOS, you win on that social front from that user perspective. Now, moving on to, I don't even know what to call these cats now because they don't even exist.
He's dead, Jim. He's dead, Jim. He's dead, Jim.
That man's dead back there.
She's dead. He's dead.
Windows Phone. Now, I got this Windows Phone while I was in the service as well. After I upgraded from it was the iPhone 5. I don't think the 5S was out just yet. I upgraded because I saw someone with I think it was a purple version of this or blue. Can't remember. And I was just like, wow, that phone looks dope. What is that? And it was a Windows phone. I was like, I never heard of it. I know what Windows is, given in the context of the conversation, but a Windows phone. This Metro UI is gorgeous. It is basically just live widgets that are constantly moving. And if anyone's ever had the Windows Phone experience, they know this, that you can customize and move stuff around and do, well, I'm not going to say do anything, but you can do a lot more personalization within the home screen than you can with iOS. Now, Android, I know there's third-party applications to mimic this, but if you can find a real one and actually sit down and go through it and play with some of the settings, especially if you get a Nokia one, the 929 was amazing, Verizon exclusive until the 930 came out. I think that was the global variant. But if you can get your hands on one, it's a solid operating system. Don't really pay attention to the fact that the ecosystem's now dead if you just want to
Let her go, Jim. He's dead.
experience it, because the ecosystem is dead. Now, there are some native apps that work with it, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp. Some of those are social media heavy apps, are still within the native systems of Windows Phone, but don't look for Snapchat, Periscope. Hell, YouTube's not even on here, all right? Or SoundCloud for that matter. You have to go through third-party developers to actually have access to these things, and then they'll work properly. There was another one called AirCloud or something like that for Windows Phone. I don't have it on here right now because I was using this during the 3-day test period, and I was just like, man, I got to go through the browser just to get to YouTube if I wanted to upload or just watch a video. SoundCloud, same way. It's a bit cumbersome. They kind of dropped the ball on that. But outside of that, it is a great productivity device. All of the major Microsoft apps like Word, PowerPoint, Excel work seamlessly across the board. I had this phone and I was doing a paper and a write up on some services I'm about to be offering soon, and I was doing it on the Windows Phone. All I had to do was just literally beam it to my laptop, and it appeared. I might actually do a video on that if you guys do pick up, or people out there decide to pick up a Windows Phone. Let me know in the comments below. I'll try to do a video on how you can just beam your productivity apps like the PowerPoints and Words from phone to laptop or desktop, whatever is your flavor. Anyways, moving forward, those productivity apps work great, especially heavy emailing with attachments and talking to clients and setting up things. It was great for that. Now, the downside to it. I felt isolated on Windows platform. Now, again, I know it's a dead operating system. It lost the race. We know this. These are facts. Even when it was alive and kicking, I didn't necessarily feel sociable while using the device. Yes, I was able to plan my moves on like for business spreadsheets and how I was going to organize my calendars and contact lists. That was great. Even the I think it was a Nokia exclusive. It was called the App Social. Yeah, here it is right here. Zoom in on that. Um, it's gone now. It died with the ecosystem. Even with that being tied into my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I just to me it didn't seem very like a social networking device. Yes, I got clientele and it handled all that well, but like I said, I'm repeating myself. It just seemed like a very isolated experience. And personally, I did like that because I was able to personalize that isolated experience via the Bing Live wallpapers, which still exist. My lock screen is that actually. That was nice. I was able to custom tailor that and choose specific days of when and where I want the pictures to show up. The live tiles help with that as well. But as far as being an extrovert and communicating with others, Windows Phone didn't really have that appeal. Um, and it's sad really because it this is one of the few phones. This is before like iPhone and Android even caught up. It had so many great features and a bit of a hat tip to Nokia as well because they help program some of the stuff with their hardware. But like live photos, the Windows Phone had that before iOS had the whole live photo things, or even the Google Cloud, which like automatically makes a compilation of photos and makes it into a GIF or GIF, GIF, GIF. Anyways, it had that feature. Some of the widgets on here, it already had it, and it was ahead of its time. Is what I'm getting at. I can go through the list, maybe not in this video, of what Nokia phones and Windows phones together had on the competition, and where the competition kind of just pulled some of that the intuitiveness towards their side. But I'm not going to. I just want to go ahead and just give the perspective of using this phone. It was an isolated experience. Now, if you do prefer that, you're gonna love it. I did, and I'm actually reconsidering making this a daily driver for I don't know how long. It was just a great time to be back on this and getting a lot of productivity done. So, moving on to the final contender. Rest in peace, by the way. Windows Phone, Android, and in this case, the LG V30. Now, this has been my daily driver before I started doing all these tests. Um, the prior daily driver was a V20. I decided to upgrade, and in a way, I missed the IR blaster, so I can control these monitors over there and behind me without looking for the remote. And also, I missed the second screen. It was easier to just check messages as they came across like a ticker tape. And the last bit would be the battery. I had at least 3 replaceable batteries because I was actually doing some mobile photography and uploading stuff to my FOP channel. By the way, I'll post a link to my FOP in the description below. But moving forward, Android, well, in this particular case, the V30 and the V line in general, I never had the V10. They are the true powerhouse when it comes to media production and consumption. It's I know the Note 9 just came out and it has more RAM, more onboard storage, and all that jazz. It even has the new Snapdragon in it. This right here was handling Lightroom, Photoshop with precision. All right. Some of the photos, again, mentioned on FOP, were edited and uploaded through that same mechanism through the phone. Now, the user experience of Android. Well, I think the tagline, and I might get this wrong. I don't even have the computer up. I just want to see if I can pull this from memory. Was be together but different, or something like that. Be the same but different. There was some weird tagline like that, and even though I'm getting the tagline wrong, I want to, or might be getting it wrong, might be right. Um, I want to point out to the fact that not all Androids are created equal. Um, I remember I had an HTC, and well, the user interface kind of just sucked. I finally jumped over to LG, and it got better. So if you don't like LG, just go ahead and skip to the end of this video because I'm about to praise LG on a whole lot of stuff right now. And, well, call it bias, whatever. So here it goes. I think LG is the best Android device out there. Yes, it's no Google Pixel, it's not no stock Android, but the feature set that came with this phone and the V20 before it are incredible if you're a cinematographer or you're a person who enjoys photography. Let's start with Cinelog and then move our way to the manual camera controls, and then lastly, just the options within the phone. Like the Windows Phone and the iPhone SE, 6S, and 6S Plus, they all had headphone jacks. I'm not here to talk about that really. I just want to point out that this microphone I'm using right now is plugged into an old iPhone using the Rode app or Rode app. And that's great because I can use it anytime, anywhere I need to record something or do a quick interview. This has a quad DAC built into it, which allows it to do this amazing voice recording. And we're going to cut to it right here, where you can do mono or stereo recording depending on the orientation of the phone. And it puts it in FLAC. Now, no iPhone or Windows Phone I know had that ability to just record from the phone directly and output to either WAV or FLAC. It was just great. If you're an audio file or techie, you'll know where I'm getting at. It's a dope feature. So moving more on to the user experience, the LG take on Android is phenomenal. The cinema log, you can just record in a flat image, upload it to Final Cut or Adobe, whatever your flavor is, and then color grade it the way you want it. Or the manual mode in this phone. Wow. I was in Niagara Falls with my girlfriend, and I took a photo of the light show that they put on. I guess it's almost like every day in Canada. They just have a night show with fireworks and waterworks and all that stuff. Anyways, the fact that it was able to reproduce almost, I'm gonna just ballpark here and say a 1-to-1 color representation from a cell phone with manual camera controls. Of course, you gotta know what you're doing. You know, not anyone's just gonna be able to pick it up. You can learn, but if you know what you're doing and know how to adjust the depth of field and know how to expose, use your correct app. All I'm saying is if you know how to work manual controls, this phone is the shit. All right. I'm gonna put a picture up of what it looks like. That's what you're seeing right there is from the phone. It's also on my FOP. You can check that out later as well. But that was the power of LG on top of Android and all the little extra bits within, that it just made me realize like this is just a dope phone. I don't know why I would even want to jump back and forth. I know I just said the thing about the Windows Phone, but when it comes to camera, that the LG got the iPhone's beat. It's got the Google Pixel beat, especially with the manual controls. Now, moving on to the feature set for the user experience. Uh, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I don't use any custom launchers or anything like that. I use LG stock interface, but it's all right. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It'll get you the messages you need to do, and I think Android messaging services in general are just shit. That's why a lot of people use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger to get their point across. Um, but with that being said, Android doesn't necessarily resonate social networking as well. That that crown belongs to iOS and iPhone. Period. Um, I know there's some updates coming to SMS, but I think it's too late. iPhone just wins that. That's why most people prefer iPhones. It's aside from the simplicity factor and the look of wealth. Um, it's a social media glutton. I don't know how Android can take that down or take that crown away from iOS. But if you got WhatsApp and you got Facebook Messenger, it's fine. You can send high quality videos to your friends and family and stuff like that. But overall, when it comes to the Android experience, it's an all-rounder phone. I mean, if you look at it, it handles social media well. It also has a great feature set if you get with the right company, that is, like a LG or maybe Samsung. I know they've gotten better with their cameras, but it's an all-rounder device. iOS, in my purview, social, lifestyle. That's it. Windows Phone for the business tycoon, for the entrepreneur. Android for the all-rounder who wants a little bit of both, but just got to stay rounded. Got to be a jack of all trades. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed my take and, well, my impressions of the 3 operating systems. I know there's a 4th one out there. I saw it floating around somewhere. And when I get more information on it, I'll probably post another video about it. But this is going to conclude it. I'm going to keep using all 3. If I had to pick a winner, I'd say Android, hands down. It's the most versatile format. I can use it on either Mac or PC. It has expandable storage. Most of them do. And it's essentially just a pocket PC, man. I mean, there's no getting around that. iOS, you have too many walls. Windows Phone, it's in the ground. But with that being said, this is Randy from Go Techie Labs signing off, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
She's dead.